first agenda item focuses on transparency and accountability. Participants expressed frustration over the lack of transparency in city government, particularly in how decisions about public funds are made and communicated.
Hello, my name is Amina Lobster, and I'm a resident of the Midtown neighborhood. I would like to see more active ways in which the community can get involved and readily informed about the status of programming within the city of St. Louis, the status of the city services. For example, when citizens submit requests, I would like a more active portal so citizens can be aware of where those requests are and the status of being answered. In addition, I would like more accountability. I would like continued public hearings and forums in order for citizens of St. Louis to talk to whether that be the Board of Aldermen or even the mayor's office in regards to offering feedback and also getting status updates toward their concerns.
Hi, my name is Emmanuel and I live in Ward 2. I'd love to see the city take seriously the transparency and accountability over groups like the St. Louis Development Corp. They're ultimately an unelected body and they have way too much power over deciding how our city's resources are used. I want to see the city reach out to citizens to be involved in those meetings and processes.
Okay, first item, transparency and accountability. So there's plenty of public hearings at City Hall, but there's a sense that decision makers don't really want to hear from people, that they're just kind of checking a box, or that there's not enough chances for people's voices to truly be heard. What will you do to incorporate the voices of the communities you serve when you're making decisions that impact them?
I think a lot of people have just lost faith in government. They've lost faith when they submit a request to the Citizen Service Bureau that it's not just going to go into a drawer and not be dealt with. And so one of the things I'll bring to the table is a true accountability of citizen service requests, how long it really takes to fill a pothole, not just in a broad sense, but specifically. I mean, I think we need to look at these things geographically. When you see the population loss that we're seeing in the city coming out of a very specific geographical area, it's very clear to me that we have got to address equity in city services.
So residents also talked about the need for follow through. They feel like the city is constantly commissioning studies. They'll hire consultants to look at stuff. And then that seems to just lead to commissioning another study.
Right.
What will you do as mayor to move past that study stage and actually put things into action?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking right now about giving raises to city workers. And this is coming, of course, at the very end of session after the Board of Aldermen really can, under our rules, without suspension of those rules, address raises. And so it's coming at the 11th hour, essentially. But it's also preceding a study, a comprehensive pay study that should be done this spring. This is following a pay study that was done in 2021 that really went on a shelf and clearly did not address the pay parity or the lack of pay parity that was driving vacancies across city departments. And this is a huge problem that plays out in a failure to deliver city services. It's also quantifiable. We had an enormous surplus last year in our budget. $42.1 million driven by vacancies in city departments.
So something else that residents brought up at these sessions is the recent very negative headlines about the St. Louis Development Corporation, also some of the scandal in the building division. What can the city do to keep public funds from going to bad actors? And do you feel like leaving the board of the SLDC, that just opened the door to more potential problems?
Under the current structure, you have an organization that has a CEO, which is really chosen by the mayor. You also have a board of directors that oversees the organization. In this particular case, this administration, this mayor has chosen to have the chair of the Oversight board be the CEO of the organization it's supposed to be overseeing. And when you have that breakdown of oversight, I realized over the course of my service there that the oversight was truly a sham. And it was not something I could continue under good conscience to participate in. I think it's important that from a policy perspective, that we prevent that from happening ever again.
Regarding accountability and having more citizen input, we have a quarterly cabinet and community that we take to different neighborhoods across the city, north, south, the west side, downtown, and we bring all of our cabinet departments there so people can get their answers in real time. So after we do maybe a 10 or 15 minute update on projects that people may be interested in, then we open it up for questions, and we get a lot of robust feedback and questions from citizens. But the best part about it is when there is an issue, they can be connected to a cabinet member right on the spot and get followed up. And the Citizen Service Bureau, we are improving and adding more features to CityWorks, which is the software that runs our Citizen Service Bureau. You can check currently on the status on our website if you retain the number after you put in the request. But you can also call the Citizen Service Bureau and check on the status of that request.
Something else that a lot of citizens brought up is they'd like to see different parts of city government work better together. And I'm wondering, what can you do to work with other parts of city government?
Yes. So as people know, we have 9 citywide elected officials and 14 aldermen. And 6 of those offices are what we call county offices. I have monthly meetings, open door meetings with those countywide officials to let them know what's going on in their city government, to let them ask me any questions. We've been able to collaborate on several different projects, find money and federal grants, for example, for several different departments, because we realize that even though, everybody has their own sort of department, we can work together. And so we're working with the license collector's office to make sure that they have what they need to upgrade their software as well, and trying to make sure that those departments are talking to each other as well, software-wise. So that process is already happening, and I instituted it because I came from the county side into the municipal side.
When you were at the treasurer's office.
Yeah, when I was the treasurer.
So one thing we heard again from residents is they say they're frustrated by just how many times the city will put a plan together, and then sometimes it'll put a plan together that means we need another plan.
Yes.
What can the mayor do to propel these things forward?
Well, we are taking some of those plans and putting them into action. Our Economic Justice Action Plan, for example, which we started in 2022, is in action, and residents in North St. Louis and parts of South St. Louis can see that through the investments that we're making, the houses that we're tearing down, the houses that we're building and generating mortgages. Our transportation mobility plan, which is the first citywide transportation plan in decades. When it comes to the springtime, they'll start to see our major thoroughfares, north-south thoroughfares, be repaved.
Some of our focus group participants brought up some of the bad headlines that have come for the St. Louis Development Corporation. Also, this scandal that the building division has been involved in. I know you asked the FBI to take a look at that. What do you think the city can do differently to prevent public funds from going to bad actors?
Well, I mean, as we saw, even with the Board of Aldermen, sometimes there's nothing we can do. But what I can tell citizens is when it hits my desk, I'm going to fix it. We're going to act. And just like with the building division, we fixed that. And so, now the FBI is investigating to see what other things are going on there. And then also with SLDC, we took a step back, brought in a third-party auditor. That auditor also agreed with us that no funds were expended that shouldn't have been expended. Our issue with that, and we take full accountability for that, is we announced the conditional awards too soon. So we have taken the step back. We will pause and make the corrective actions that need to be made, and then we'll continue to move forward.
What will you do to incorporate the voices of the communities you serve when you're making decisions that affect them?
People don't feel heard, it sounds like, and I can attest to that. There are people inside City Hall who don't feel heard as well. When I think about accountability and transparency, I think about audits, and my office has been audited by the state government once in the past 6 years and twice by the local comptroller. And we've got to be welcoming to audits for all of our departments, because formal audits allow allow us a chance to change and not a chance for us to deflect.
So you mentioned audits. We heard from people about recent headlines involving the St. Louis Development Corporation, the sort of scandals in the building division. What does the city need to do differently to prevent public funds from going to bad actors?
The city has to have better management and oversight. So when you think about oversight, we think about legislative oversight. That comes usually after. Preventive measures is that the mayor has to be on with their director and deputy director and dive deep into the processes that each of those departments use. And that's the kind of mayor that I want to be. I've got a master's in public administration. I've got a bachelor's in business. What I've seen this administration do is use a lot of consultants to do the work that the current mayor and their administration should be doing every day.
So SLDC, Kara Spencer says she's lost faith in Neil Richardson in his administration of that department. How are you feeling on that question?
I'm feeling that SLDC was at the leadership of the mayor. And quite frankly, a lot of the choices that were made were based upon relationships with elected officials, not relationships with the director. I believe in the economic justice plan that has been presented. That was a part of the mayor's vision as well as part of Neil Richardson's execution. So I want to continue some of the economic justice plan things that I think he had really made a good name for himself. And I wouldn't want to tarnish that organization's the important work that they've done and they can do with a big change on the first day. I think there's still some good that can be done there with a better manager at the mayor and better direction from the mayor's office.
Better manager meaning a stronger mayor.
Correct.
You also mentioned consultants. This is something that residents are kind of aware of. The city has a penchant for planning. They like to hire consultants to do reports. Then that report might lead to another report.
I would be present and I'd be more focused on doing that work in-house. The most important thing here is that we need a sense of urgency in our government. People are hurting and they want medicine to be from the city government to change their daily lives right now. They can't wait a few months for a report to come out and then 3 months for legislation. There are things that if we have day-to-day employees that we can change immediately that the consultants can't tell us about.
If you can recall, when I first ran for mayor in 2016, I was criticized and made fun of because I said that we wanted a comprehensive economic development plan because in order to plan, when you plan on succeeding, you plan on providing all the intricate details on what and where we need to be, and we know who's responsible for those things. I'm certainly for transparency, and the economic development plan will certainly do so. So in order to move the city forward, we need to get all stakeholders involved, everyone involved, contribute to the economic development plan so that we would have a clear understanding on where we are within the plan, doing a SWOT analysis, a Gini coefficient. We have everyone's buy-in and input.
What can the city do differently to prevent public funds from going to bad actors?
Well, again, I'll go back to the economic development plan. It secures all of the information necessary so we know where the monies are. We know what the ideas surrounding those particular concepts and ideas and projects. We have a clear understanding of what's happening, and that minimizes the opportunity for people to take advantage of certain things and, dare I say, some corruption to leak in. But we have monies that are available now. They haven't been suggested on what we're going to do. We keep saying we're going to do this, we pull back, we're going to do this, we pull back. When you have an economic development plan, it encompasses everything. It's comprehensive in its scope and scale, and that's how we'll keep up track on what's happening.
9 PBS and St. Louis Magazine engaged citizens in St. Louis about what issues are most important to them during this mayoral election. To see more of what the candidates had to say and read the full transcripts of the interviews, visit 9pbs.org/elections. This program is supported in part by the Betsy and Thomas Patterson Foundation.